3, 2, 1, go.
And to piggyback off of April and what she was saying about the nutritional deficiency of our kids, relationships, really tap in kind of on the same frequency, Our kids, we know that, we're in a splintered culture now, families, female-headed families is nothing new. My mother was a female-headed family, but what we had that we don't have today is community.
Exactly.
We had community.
Mm-hmm. And at least family.
We had family, and then you had that
neighbors.
I remember Miss Shirley, Miss Dean, and so that relationship, we had relationship building was our hedge. It was built around us, and it kept us in line and out of trouble.
Right.
But and our kids,
we found love.
This 21st century kid don't know about that kind of culture. That kind of relationship building. And I think a lot of the problems that we have with our kids, why we can't get a buy-in, why learning is such a difficult piece for them, is because of the lack of relationship. Why teaching is such a difficult thing for a lot of teachers is because we're missing that relationship.
Even in schools.
Yeah, in schools.
Even in schools.
Even more so in school.
Yeah.
It's the glue with each component that we bring to the table. That relationship is the water, or it's the
Nourishment.
The nourishment is what flows through the veins of each of those different aspects. So the 21st century kid, they talk about collaboration. Our kids they don't understand collaboration. They don't understand team building, nation building, any of that, because it was taken out. I think it was a political move, if I may say so, but that was taken out of our community. It was taken away from us, and we gladly relinquished that.
I think in the 70s, in the late 60s and 70s, when there was a flood of independent schools all over the country, they were run by families and communities, and our children did really well in those schools.
They did well.
But the funding was not there.
Right.
They struggled, but that didn't matter.
Right.
They did well, and it was because of the relationship. They may have gone to church, their teacher may sit next to their mother in church.
Right.
We don't have that anymore. Their teacher could willingly, and parents were volunteering, not just coming to parent meetings. They were actually volunteering, doing something meaningful in schools. They had value.
Right.
Now all we do is call them for a parent meeting.
Right.
So they're not engaged at all.
Right.
Well, the society started pushing the individuality.
Yeah.
If you look at students when they come to you, and if you're talking about having a test, then they get to this position, you can't look at my stuff. They're not used to sharing.
Right.
So when you tell them about collaborating and working as a team, you have to give them the instructions that go with it. I use a simple thing in our morning ritual. I ask the questions all the time. Am I my brother's keeper?
Right.
And the kids would look at me and they say, what?
No, right.
And I say, am I my brother's keeper?
On my classroom wall, I had that slogan, and we started a campaign for that. But what you're speaking of, the reason why they don't know anything about it is because they're not seeing it. They're not seeing their behavior being modeled.
But that's what I'm
so,
saying.
Exactly. So we have to model that behavior, not just a few of us, but as
the
many
whole
of us
building.
as we can. As can get this done, we need to begin again to model this behavior. So the relationships and the teacher and the parents and the community. As many of us need to come together as possible and model this behavior, if it begins in a home, or if it can begin in a classroom, if it can begin with one and it can spread on to two.
Right.
But then talking about the 21st century learner, I have a smartphone. It's smarter than me. I don't know how to use it half the time. So I just hand it to a student and I say, okay, here, show me what I don't know.
Exactly.
And they will. But then that gives them a buy-in. They say, oh, Miss Green came to me because she don't know how to do this. No, I don't. Okay, so now show me something else.
Right.
And if you get them energized in saying that they can teach you something,
They can.
then they feel like they have a vested interest in it. You're not so above them that you can't come and learn.
That brings me to this. I have witnessed schools create these elaborate programs for collecting, confiscating, and redistributing cell phones every day, instead of allowing the students to use the phone in the classroom. And I know that it's controversial, but I have found, because I've done it, the more you give them academic things to do on their phones, because 9 out of 10 of our students are online on their phones. So they may not need a computer. They can research on their phones. They can use a dictionary, a thesaurus on their phones. I allow my students to use their cell phones in the classroom. And what I find is the more we use it academically, the less they use it for Facebook or socially. Because they get into and they correct each other. Maybe you shouldn't be on Facebook right now. We're doing so and so and so. So that's that community.
Because they feel good when they're learning and when they're progressing, and when you meet them where they are. If where they are is down here or right here or right here, you have to meet them where they are. If they're down here, how can you meet them up here? Then you're talking down to them, and they're not going to respect that. When you talk about relationship building, one of the things that I began doing in my classrooms, formerly teaching in an alternative high school for several years, I began the school year with apologizing to that generation of students for what our generation did not do for them. And you should, if you could see the look of shock on their faces and the room get quiet, because for one thing, they know real. Anybody knows real. They know I'm sincere. And then I have their attention. I began building that relationship and earning my respect, because I tell them also, I'm going to give you your respect first. You don't have to give it to me first. I'm going to give it to you first. I'm going to earn it. And then you just return to me what I'm giving to you. And I earn their respect every time. And then that way, in building the relationship, putting in some of that love that they're missing, some of that respect that they're missing, modeling the behavior they buy into. Learning is a cool thing. It's a good thing. And then there you go. You're on the road.
Then it allows you to team build, because if you have a student who doesn't read as well as another student, you pair them up. Say, okay, you all got to help each other, because I'm not going to grade your notes in my class until they're equal. This person can't be doing more or less than you. You're responsible for each other.
Oh, wow.
And I put all the brightest people in the back. And all my students who said they're slower or challenged or whatever they want to call themselves, because I allow them to label themselves. I said, then I'm going to take all those labels away from you. I said, everybody's going to be moved to the front. But the people in the back who say they all smart, then they're responsible for everybody in here's notes. And then they generate it. And then
it works?
Yes, because the students who are in the front are going to say, she didn't say that. You left out this. She said, and they get it into dialogue with each other.
So they learn how to
and they're
collaborate.
bringing each other up. And they're collaborating.
They learn how to
And see,
collaborate.
that's really the thrust for 21st century learning. That's what they're trying to do.
It is.
Because what they finally realized is that because they took away the community and they took away, collaboration, all that was taken out of our kids.
We call it community, and they now call it collaboration.
Right.